The work they were talking about. They said they were doing works on this footpath. Obviously to prevent loads of runoff from going down into these properties. But I would think they would put concrete around the posts as well. So it's still a point of failure. Oh. Yeah, I would have just concreted around the posts. Two days since we said goodbye to Sam. It's been tough on us all. A lot tougher on my wife because she was so close with Sam. Sam was so close with her. He'd always be cuddling up against her. The last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, were absolutely stinkers in terms of the weather. It was really hot. 42 down at work, which is 106 Fahrenheit. I think 38 up here, which is like 96. And all the more worse because it is so humid in Sydney's west and the mountains. Then today, when I got up in the morning to feed Batman, it was raining. And today it was only a top of like 25 at work. There's a chill in the air. Batman was very quiet yesterday, really sullen, as he was on the night. He developed a little habit of, as soon as he would finish eating, he would check around the floor for anything that Sam might have pulled out of his bowl and left on the floor. Yesterday and this morning, that was no different. He did the exact same thing. But it was very hard letting go of Sam. The last seizure he had really affected him because he could no longer walk properly. And I mentioned to the vet that I had misjudged the dose of his additional medication, and she said no, that wouldn't be doing this. It was almost like it had knocked the side out of his right eye because the tumour was right behind it. Looked constantly disoriented and was showing all the telltale signs that our other dog a few years back was showing. And with her, we held on for a little too long for her. I didn't want to let her go. She was 14. Sam was 15. So he lived a very good life. We're hopeful that Batman will be okay because he spent the first 7 years of his life as an only dog. not part of a pack. He had been with Sam for 3 years, 3 and a bit. Anyway. Thursday. The school year finished up for the kids yesterday. Today and tomorrow are staff development days. Checked the emails this morning. There is a full agenda today of sit and listen or sit and get involved. Things about procedures that need to be updated for next year, teaching excellence, behaviour management, our vision and values for 2025, because we're going under a new excellence framework, which is our school's plan for 3 years. Starts at 8:30, goes through till 3, recess and lunch breaks. I don't think that I'm going to get much time to work on the timetable, which was probably in the back of my head when I was staying back yesterday, because I was working all day on the class lists, just merging, cutting, pasting, creating my big file. So I create a file with this year's, like say year 7 going into year 8, and set it up with the way it needs to be for the timetable, in terms of if Year 10's the only one where the faculties have all the Year 10s at the same time. But in Year 8 and 9, they have like a 2-3 class split, and they have to agree on who are in those classes, in those groupings of the 2 and the 3, and then they can mix the kids up. And so you'll really see it when you look at PE, because they might have a boys class, girls class, and a mixed class in the 3 group. So once they've done all that, and it's done using Excel online, I can then cut and paste their class lists into one long list with the classes next to it, and then import it into my major file, which has every kid with all their classes in their own columns. And when I do that, I have to double check that I'm lining it up right, that no kids have been missed. Sometimes you'll have some faculties remember that a kid has left, so they'll leave them out of the list. Some will remember that there's a new kid enrolled, and they'll add them to the list. This year, I don't think any of the new ones got in. I know one did in one faculty, but some of the other faculties went, yep, that kid's left. And that was because I think their year advisor was in that faculty. And they go, that kid's left, and they left them out. The biggest thing with the 2-3 split, at any one time, 2 classes could be doing maths, 3 could be doing English. Then the same 2 could be doing, in the next period, the same 2 will be doing PE, and the other 3 will be doing maths. And so because of that, if you accidentally have a kid cross that imaginary line between the 2 and the 3, they have clashes and blanks on their timetable. Once I've got the main sheet fixed, and every kid has a class for every faculty, all their electives are in there, so I've got to sort of export from the timetable, then re-import class electives in, add in the sport classes, add in the literacy and numeracy classes. Year 10 also have a careers class. So once I get all that done, I then import that main file into the timetable. And then I press go and it imports it, wipes out all the kids that are in there, puts them all back in. With year 9 and 8 especially, I check the class list manager. If I open that screen and I see little red S's next to a kid's name, it means they've got a clash on their timetable somewhere. Now, if it's a life ed student, I'll only see that when it comes to electives, because they'll have something else as well as their elective, and they get to basically choose whether they go in and out to the electives. But if I go to the grouping, so English, GPT, they're the class numbers, I'll see whether there's a clash. When I did that in year 9 for next year, there was less than 6 that had a clash. I went back to the student data screen and checked whether all of their classes were a G, P or T. And if they were a B or an S, that faculty had put them in the wrong group. And I just switched it over to the one that was the most common, pretty much. When it came to year 8, I opened up the class list manager, the 2 class group, E and L. So every student should have an E and L. And in the 3 grouping, every student should have a C, an M or an R. And there were red dots everywhere. Red dots everywhere. In the C and L group, 75% of the kids in that group had a red dot. So somebody had done something wrong. I went back to the student data screen, sorted all the students based on English, because that would just put them in class blocks. And then I can look across and see if the English class was E, then everything across the line should be E or L. And I would spot the faculty that made a mistake. So if I was going down the list and all of a sudden a kid had an M or a C or an R, I just changed it to an E or an L based on the majorities. And I did that all the way down, and then when I got to the CM and Rs, they had to be a CM and R, and if they were an E or an L, I switched them over. That took a while. Then I went back into Class List Manager and just made sure that the classes were an even number in that faculty that had made the mistake. Now, that's not to say that that faculty still needs to live by my choices in terms of the students being in one class or the other. They can still mix them up, but they need to keep them in that group. So if they were in the EL, they could switch them around. I just made them even, same number of girls, same number of boys in 2 classes, and then did the same in the C, M and R group. And then the final thing I did was make sure that every kid had their sporting house. Now year 7, brand new list of kids. In the past, I would usually get 2 lists of year 7s. One from the office, which was the official list of kids who have had paperwork returned to the school to say, yes, I'm enrolling in your school. The office lady who usually does that realised yesterday morning that she hadn't done it yet, and she got the list sent through to me. A list of the kids, what primary school they came from, which doesn't really make a difference to me, and their earn number, which is their identifier number in the school system, statewide. Land faculty, which is usually involved in a lot of the testing of the students for literacy, they usually place the students into classes, because we've got 5 classes. And quite often, they have that sorted out by orientation day so that the kids are all together when they get shown around the school, so they're in their kind of class group. I haven't seen that list yet, and I need it. I need it if anybody wants to know anything about their student, their year 7 class lists by the start of next year. So I sent out an email yesterday afternoon to the whole school asking who's in charge of this time, because I haven't seen it and I need it to be able to put it into the timetable. I have to say, thankfully, there haven't been too many issues really with the timetable so far. Now that could be because people have looked at it and have gone, no, that's okay, or people haven't looked at it. But I fixed up everything in terms of rooming and some playground duty issues that people brought to our attention. A couple of roll call changes because somebody has picked up the role as a year advising assistant, so they want them with that year group. So I had to switch some people around. Try and send out that version of the timetable this morning if I get down to school before our 8:30 start. So today's a big busy day. Tomorrow I think is more faculty time. I think there's a morning session as the whole school, and we will finish off the day with the Christmas lunch. And hopefully I've gotten everything done with the timetable, because traditionally I'm leaving lunch to go and work on the timetable, usually class lists. That's probably another reason why I just made sure that I had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 done. They're all in. And if they've already created classes for year 7, then it's just a matter of me sorting based on that, putting that class next to their name in the main file that I've gotten from the office, because I started getting it ready. And then creating all the classes for one kid, copy down for that class. Create all the classes for the next class group, copy them all down. Make sure it's all right. Add a roll call for everybody, which is usually based off their class in year 7. And then import that. Once that's done, every year group will be done. Then I can put the timetable onto the server, ready for next year, which is kind of needed by the head teacher admin, so that they can synchronize teachers' timetables with any sort of professional development that has already been applied for early in the year. So, lots of little puzzle pieces needed to make the big puzzle whole. I definitely do not want to have to touch the timetable after tomorrow before next year. I don't want to be working on it at all in the holidays whatsoever. I've got my own stuff to deal with in terms of new classes and planning and an actual break. That was a long rant.